All right, I want to welcome you to Google Tools for Educators, the Seaside School District's Google Drive training session on May 2nd, 2016. Welcome, my name is Mike Brown, and I'm here to help you learn a few things about Google Drive and Google Docs. So again, welcome, and we'll get started here right away. Google Docs and Drives for Educators. It's our spring workshop. We want to make sure that people know what they need to do to be able to be successful here in the course. We'll have snacks. Sorry you don't have it in this virtual setting, but snacks and water and restrooms down at the end of the hall. But remember, the thing today is to learn a few things about using Google Docs and Drive in a friendly and relaxed environment. I want to thank Dr. Rowley for providing the funding and the vision to have these technology training classes for teachers to be able to increase their skills and be able to start to use this technology, which is readily available to us, with each other, their colleagues, and with their students. I thank people who put the extra time in, and remember that not only do you put the extra time in to gain some knowledge, but you'll also be getting paid, which is pretty cool. Make sure you sign in on the sheet so that you can get the PDUs and the payment. You can work alone on a machine, or you can work with a partner and work it out together, so that the important part is that you learn. There should be no stress. Even though there are assignments listed in the presentation, there's no homework. So it should be good. And here's what we're covering today. We're looking at Google Docs and Google Drive, and there's a little bit of difference between that. But the big difference for you as a teacher is that our using of the Google Docs is part of the seasidek12.org school domain. It's part of the Google Apps for domains that belong to Seaside School District. And we want to be able to see how that's different than, say, a regular Google account that you might have in the Google Docs there. We want to be able to create and share a Docs file, create a Google spreadsheet, be able to add and use equations, and create a Google form. And you might say, well, why do I want one? Or how do I do this? And then we'll try to figure that out today. And where's the data when people do add information to it, and how do I be able to access that? And if you've worked with Google before, you'll notice that all of the URLs that are created in Google Docs are just extremely long. And so we're also going to learn how to shorten those up so that they can be manageable and easily shared with people, and they won't get confused with having 30 letters to put in, to get to your information. So we'll either be using tinyurl.com or bit.ly, I also just call it bit.ly, or Google goo.gl, and that's actually the one we'll use in the class. So what else will I learn today? I'll learn how to use Google Draw just to create a diagram or a chart, something quick that I can use to either put into a document or to maybe just hang on the wall real quick so people would get an idea about what's going on, and it looks nicer than if I just drew it by hand. And we'll also look at Google Translate. With having a lot of ELD kids in classes, it's kind of important to be able to try and translate some things into their language, even if you can't speak that. It's not going to be perfect, but at least you're making an effort, and they'll be able to get some meaning out of it. It could be really close, or they might look at you and shake their heads and go, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but at least you're trying to make that effort to get closer to them and where they're at. So ask lots of questions and brainstorm ways that we can use this technology with students, parents, teachers. So starting out, Google Drive and Docs, and where is this stuff? And you hear a lot of times people talking about the cloud. It's in the cloud. So the question is, what is it and where is the cloud? And the cloud is really just the internet. And we really don't know where this data is housed at. Is it housed at the Google Data Center in the Dalles, or is it in Seattle, or is it in Singapore, or where is it at? So, but we're using Google Apps for Education, which houses our school district's Google Drive and Docs, which is different than, say, my own Google account. I have Google Drive and Google Docs there too, but they're different. I could share them with my Google education stuff, but that's just another step. So you might have a Google account like this one I put on here, bob@gmail.com, or something like it. That's different than our school one. And so we just want to talk about the school account because all of our students have email accounts. They may know it, they may not know it, but if they use a computer, they have a login and a password, and that connects directly to their Google Apps for Education account. So how do I get there? Well, a great place, if you're not really quite sure, is just to start out at the school website, www.seaside.k12.or.us. I looked at all the school districts' school pages, and the one I have on here is Gerhardt Elementary. On the bottom right, you'll see that there's a Google Drive button, and it says Google Drive Login. The only one that I don't see that has that is Seaside Heights. So use any other school's button. That'll work. Or if you're being adventuresome, just type in drive.google.com into the browser. Now, I say on the presentation, make sure that you're logged out of the browser first. Since I use Google a lot, I'm usually logged in with my Google account, not my school Google account. And so sometimes it's, I won't be able to see that unless I log out first and then log in as using my school login. And I'll show you that in a minute. So your browser is going to want to know which account do you want to use to log into the Google Apps for the education domain, the one that belongs to our school district and is for teachers and students only. So I put a picture on here that shows that when I'm logged out of my browser, and it says who wants to get this. Is it Mike Brown, the mr.mbrown@gmail? That's my private one. Or is it the Mike Brown at seasidek12.org? Which is my school one, and you even see that there's a student on there because sometimes students will use my machine and they have to log in as themselves to get to their own email. And so I made those larger so you can look at them and see the difference. Everyone has a seasidek12.org account. And you're going to say, wait a minute, I have a seaside.k12.or.us account. Yes, you do, but you also have a Google one too, which is seasidek12.org. Notice that mine says Mike Brown. That's my login. Yours will be just like that, whatever your login is. If it's S. Rowley or S. Brown or whatever, that will be your login. And your password will still be your password, and I'll show you that in a second. So if you type in that I want to go to drive.google.com and you're not logged in, and you choose your school or put in your school or activate it or create it. I don't want to say create it, but I want to say attach it to your login. You'll see this window pop up. And I just put in my username and my password just like I was logging into a computer. And then that will take me to my Google Apps for Education at the Seaside K12 domain. After you do this for a while, it just becomes second nature. So here I am. I'm at Google Drive and Google Docs, and they're slightly different. If I just typed in docs.google, it would take me to my Google Docs piece, which also I would see as documents. And so I would recommend always just go to drive.google.com because that way it shows me all the folders, all the organization that I have, and the files. So I get to see more when I'm at Drive. So as far as getting into Google Docs on the writing side, we're going to look at some editing pieces that I have. And we'll also look at Google Voice Typing. And you have a writing assignment. And remember, Google always saves for you. And I have to remember to go back and change that G so it's actually a capital G for Google. But remember, Google saves always for you. So when I was putting this together in my computer had the blue screen of death and it just died, everything was still saved. So that's pretty helpful. And I'm just going to skip some of these so I don't run out of time, but you'll be able to see some of these documents pretty soon. In Google Sheets, we're looking at spreadsheets, rows and columns, organizing the data, setting up budgets. Let the spreadsheet do the math for you. That's the important part. Let the spreadsheet do the math. Once you put the equation in, then every time you change a value, the spreadsheet will just automatically redo the equation all for you. You can create graphs, and I've got examples for you in the folders, and I'll make links to those when I get them on the website. Google Forms is a powerful tool for gathering information. It has a lot of uses. It makes its data available to you in a spreadsheet, or you could just look at it on the form itself. And I hope that you can think of ways to use it. Maybe you want students to use it to write with, and you could give them some writing prompts, and they could put their names into the form, and then they could do the writing, and then you would get their writing in a spreadsheet, and you could look at everybody's writing separately. Or maybe you want to create a parent survey. We've got lots of possibilities, and maybe you can think of a lot more things. So here's a physics quiz that I set up, and I just got started, and in the class we'll add more to it. But the very first question is, what's your name? And it's a mandatory question. That way I get everybody's name. Every question's mandatory, so that way I get an answer in every box, and I'm able to move ahead with it. Here's a link to the physics forum. Remember, Google has really long URLs. And so we want to use a URL shortener to make it shorter, like tinyurl or bit.ly or Google. And this example, I use the Google, the goo.gl, as a way to create this shortener so I don't have to put such a big thing in here. And if you look on the right side of the screen over in here, you'll be able to see that I've got that shortener in here. And this little thing, this H, capital X, R, capital A, 7, capital W, attached to this will get me to this form instead of using all of this information, which is pretty cool. And then I'll have you make a simple form. You know, maybe it's a get to know you, or setting up some things like what parents could do in your classroom. How could they help? Or it's a student writing assignment, or anything. And then I've got an example in here of the sign-up form that everybody filled out for getting into the class today. With Google Draw, some very quick diagrams. I think I spent maybe only about 5 to 10 minutes on this diagram of trying to set up some stations in a classroom so that students would know where to go. And you could, once you create the sign, you can print it out, use it, change it if you need to. And the last item for today is Google Translate. If you have some ELD students and you don't speak their language, then try Translate. It may not be perfect, but it can help get your message across. I've got a photography example with some Spanish speakers that I used this week in class. In the fall, I did some stuff with some European languages, like I had a girl from the Czech Republic, and one, I think what was from Sweden or Finland, I can't remember which one. But anyway, try to put that in there. They might laugh at you a little bit and look at you a little crazy, but at least you're trying to get that information out to them so that they can get some better idea of what's going on with the assignment. And in the end, I hope we had some fun today. I hope we gained some skills with all these things, docs and sheets and forms and shortening URLs and draw and translate. And there's always a lot more to learn, and you'll be just spending probably a lifetime. Some of these things you might have already known about, but also some things maybe they were new, or you can think about them in different ways. And so anyway, I hope you had a good time with that today, and I hope that you have a chance to look at these other files that I have and be able to gain some experience with them and do some great things with your students and with your colleagues. So anyway, I hope that's great. So take care, and that's it for today.